Welcome to Center Heist Productions. Bob Gainey and myself in the room doing the evaluations of the Habs defense. Now we've done in part 4 Laval Rockets and guys in different leagues and junior leagues coming up for future what we think evaluation wise. And this now we are at the Montreal level and we're evaluating what our defense was like this year. And I kind of put some picks on the front page. You can see who I would be keeping, as I've got paired there, and I've got the one extra. And I do have the 2 to 3 guys that we will probably have to deal out over some time. That's my way I see the defense. So please first hit the like, subscribe down below in your right-hand corner. And we're just trying to build a community. And you're getting straightforward, logical evaluations. No BSing for 1 or 2 players just because there's a little bit of hype in one area on a player. No, we're giving you a true evaluation of their all-round play. And that's how we do things around here. We don't go about being swayed by reporters or anybody else. We go strictly by what we see on the ice, performance-wise. All right, so Habs defense. Habs defense consisted of David Savard, Mike Matheson, Gooley, Jacky, Harris, Kovacevic. Hudson and Mailloux came in later, and Ryan Backer will come into the picture eventually. And then I've got Struble and Barron there as well. Enstrom is a question mark. I got them kind of added to it. These are the guys I believe overall we have to pick from to make our final decision as time goes by of who our final 6 or 7 players will be in the future. All right, so we started off. David Savard was a very good leader for the Habs, for the kids, aiding them, and he's very good that way, and great at blocking shots, as you know. And Caden Gooley it's funny because you see Caden, his influence, he seems to be the new guy up and coming that seems to be the guy that's blocking all the shots. He kind of was leading it before he got injured. And then you got Mike Matheson, and where Gooley was playing with Mike Matheson. I gave Savard a -C. Now, there's a reason for that. The -C, he did a great job with the kids, blocking shots. But let's be honest and quite frank, his speed is not good. Okay, so his speed does affect us. We got to be honest in that play. And for some darn reason, I don't know what's in it. It seems to be a combination of Montreal's defensive system, to when David and Mike Matheson are out together. Some reason they seem to leave quite a bit of a space in front of the net, and sometimes they both forget. And Matheson's fast enough to get back. However, he's not great at tying up. And then we got David, got the opposite problem. He can tie you up and move people, but he can't get there. So when they leave too much space, it becomes problematic. And that happened quite a bit this year, and so that's why I gave David Savard C-. Mike Matheson, he's definitely our number 1 defenseman at this point in time. Remember, I'm going to be quite frank. I really don't give a rat's butt about what other people think, because a lot of people want to pump tires, and some people can't keep their own opinion, and they like it swayed by their cohorts when they have a guest on their channel. They can't keep their own opinion. They're swayed very easily. Kind of yes men. It's funny because I don't operate that way. Nobody will change my mind. I think it's better to have your own mind. And for me, I seen Mike Matheson. Yes, he's our number 1 on any other team. And yes, he had phenomenal numbers as far as points. He also had phenomenal numbers against in the plus-minus. And however, though, I am taking into consideration that because of all the ice time he's on the ice, he's probably been on the ice when there's been on empty nets, when the goaltender's pulled. So I'm giving him that credit. So I gave Mike Matheson a B, and that was the top ranking I gave for a Montreal Canadiens defenseman. So you may not like it. I really don't care. It's my opinion. Okay. So next we went on to Caden Gooley. And Caden Gooley kind of took a dive for me a little bit. and I'm going to explain why. He is our next best defenseman, will be the next number one, I'm sure, if my concerns don't transpire to be a problematic situation. I gave Gooley a minus B. And there was a reason. He kind of took a couple steps backwards this year. Now, take into consideration he's playing on his off wing. They put him on the right side when he's a left defenseman. And that's why I say eventually, as they gain reps, he will probably roll into number one on the left side when time goes by. But at the present time, he's number two, and he's playing on his opposite side. So that's going to affect how he plays. It's not his strong side. And my other knock against him is the injuries. And I think this is where I get concerned. The injuries, I think he can prevent. And this is my problem with him. And who has been more in Gooley's corner than myself. Me. I've been like one of his biggest fans from the moment he was drafted to when I seen him, just his maturity. And he's got great maturity. He's a great leader. However, he makes himself vulnerable, and I'm sorry, there's hits like that Kucherov hit on him. Yeah, it was a clean hit. Yeah, Montreal Canadiens fans can whine all they want. I'm a Habs fan. That was a clean hit. That was Gooley's doing that got him injured and got him the concussion because of the way he took it. And it's turning, into placing himself in a bad position. And there's other people that do that as well on the team. He seems to be the strong one because he does work hard, and he's always grinding it out. And he's got the foot speed. That's his strength of getting back. His back checking is phenomenal. He's an awesome skater. So that kind of lifted him back up. Great penalty killer. But again, he got kind of caught out of positions at times too, and had a bit of plus minus issues, I felt, as well. So I gave him a B minus, and that's a step back for me. I think he took a slight step backwards, but remember, being on the right side. Okay, then we got Arbor Jacki. And what a up and down season this poor bugger had. And he's him and Gooley are my favorite two defensemen, as you know. And I love this guy because he's a bruiser, but he can play hockey. He's not a Ryan Reeves, who look how the Leafs are getting killed in the playoffs. Look at how many mistakes that guy makes going out to clock somebody because that's all he's got. He's a goon. Can't play the game. Arbor Jacki is a different story, and that's why Marty St. Louis wanted to make him understand you're too valuable to just go out there and just take penalties galore because you've got talent. And I think that was a part of when he got injured the first time. He got sent to Laval, and nobody expected it, including himself. Brought him down a little bit, but he did get himself together, pulled himself together, and it did him good in the end. And then he took the time to take the development issues he has in his game and work on them down while he was in Laval. And he made quite a difference for Laval while he was there. He came along. His first few games were not the strongest because he took it the wrong way, the message from the Habs. But again, got his mind together and matured and did well. And then when he got back to Montreal, he came back first couple of games a little shaky. However, as you notice, they implemented David Savard, who seems to be the rookie fixer. When they need stability and a guy to calm down the rookies, that's the advantage of having David Savard. And he's so awesome at it. And then you've seen, after a few games, Jacki's game went to another level, and it's coming to the level where you can tell the coaches were telling him it can go. Now, we knew something was wrong with Jacki all year. He wasn't dropping the gloves as much. And, of course, the big hit that took him out with Biskevich from Vegas, come on, that was horrendous. That was a horrendous hit. Wow. I'm surprised that didn't bust his shoulder. However, we ended up finding out at the end of the season that he had a problem with the shoulder. He did have a problem all season long that he didn't tell the Habs. That's not a good thing. They got to get to him and say, no, my son, you can't do that. That can lead to worse things. And he's probably used to having to do stuff like that. Because like he said, he's had this problem in his shoulders since junior hockey. So now he's got the second one fixed. However, expect, again, it to affect his game a bit, just like the first one did this year. And although we didn't know that he was curing, so that would have been healing from one surgery, and then the other opposite shoulder's got a problem, and now he's got that repaired. So you're gonna find him. I'm expecting there's gonna be some dips in his game because he's gonna be favoring and having to nurse, as they say, that surgery because it usually takes a year and a half. I think he's going to be fine in the end. However, like Gooley, I have concerns because I didn't expect all of this, and we can't seem to get a straight season out of Gooley and Jackeye where they're injury free. So I'm a little concerned. That's all. I've got Jackeye down in the future as being anywhere from a 4 to a 6 defenseman in that range. It's going to be up to him where his ceiling is, where he fits. I think there's different things we can take, even though there's producers like Hudson. I think there's also you got to take into consideration maybe having Hudson protected more and maybe a third pairing. You take all of those thoughts. We'll have to see as time goes. But for me, I gave him a C. That just balanced him out as a pass. Little, it's to be expected because they were playing fire wagon hockey and then more things. He has to get used to the system, but then again, the whole team has to get used to that defensive system because I don't think it's panning out so well. So he gets like I said, I put him at number 4 by him, but what I will say beside that is anywhere from 4 to 6. I believe he could reach a number 4. However, 5 and 6 seems to be that area, but again, might be smarter to have a big boy if he can reach that potential within the top 4 defensemen. Then we go down to uh, Jordan Harris and how underrated this guy is. I love this kid. I love this kid. I love this kid. And most Habs fans don't. Why? Because he's not flashy. But we better start thinking of something. You need guys that are responsible. This guy's the most responsible and has a beautiful IQ. Gets the puck out of there, is smooth, he's smart, and yes, he had a shaky start off to the season. He had some injury issues, but as he came back in that second half, he became probably between catching up to Kovacevic, who was kind of carrying a lot of the load that way most of the season. But Harris really pulled it together, being the standout in that latter half of the second. I'm talking about defensively and just smart decisions. And to me, I would keep him around. I'd be very cautious of trading this kid because I think he's that smart. He's going to be valuable to somebody. I placed him at a number 5 beside him, believing that he can be a part of the second pairing, or he can also drop down to the third pairing. Now, Kovacevic, I didn't put a number beside him because I have a. So anyway, Harris gets a C, and that's a pass, just like Jackeye. And Kovacevic, I gave him a plus C. Didn't put any numbers beside him because I think it's going to be hard to figure out whether. And he had a solid season. Didn't get the credit he was due against. It seems like I don't know what it is, but the younger generation seems to not take in hard work and defensive responsibility into consideration enough. And he was a physical specimen down in that blue line area and did a fine job of clearing bodies and didn't get the credit he was due. Now, in saying that, I don't know if they're going to get rid of him this season, but he may be one of the odd men out in the future. Or he's kept as a 7th defenseman. I don't know. They got big decisions to make. It's going to be very difficult. Then we got Lane Hudson added to the list. I know that in the future, again, it's going to be a toss up of what happens for your second pairing and your third pairing. There's some different ways that they're going to have to look at it. He could be a number 4, like a second pairing defenseman, but would it be safer with his size and we get a real look at the physicality of it to protect him and just use him as a third pairing and on the power play? But we'll see. So I just put a number 6 only for that reason. He's going to. I didn't evaluate ABC because I did that on previous tape on the Laval junior tapes, so he doesn't get this ABC thing at the NHL level because he only played two games. It'd be unfair to evaluate him uh, at the NHL level. Same thing, we got Logan Mailloux. Played a great game when he came, just one game, not enough to evaluate him at the NHL level. However, he looked good. They both looked good. But remember, they were playing a skating team, a young skating team. That wasn't that physical of a team. What happens when you run into the Bostons, the more physical clubs, the Vegases, teams like that? And we're going to get a better visual of who can handle what, right? So can't evaluate them. So I couldn't evaluate Logan at this level. I did evaluate him at the previous tape, at the where he was the standout in Laval for defensemen. And then the same thing, we got David Reinbacher, who had a rough year overseas. However, you try being on one of the worst team. It was the worst team over there, and that affects your stats as well. So I don't think you get a true evaluation on Reinbacher, and he had a bad injury from what we were told as well. So I've got Mailloux possibly being a 3. I see him as a second pairing defenseman. I see Reinbacher with the opportunity of being a second number 2, being Gooley's partner. It's going to be between Reinbacher and Mailloux. That'll be Gooley's partner, and whoever comes out of that in the second pairing will most likely be Hudson's partner. So it's Mailloux or Reinbacher, and I gave him a number 2 because his ceiling, I believe, is higher. Now, that's not to say Mailloux's more ready. I'm sure of that. Then we had Jaden Struble, and I would place him, and I would hold on to him in my books. That's why I put him at a number 7. He wouldn't be the bad choice to have at a number 7, rotating in and out nightly. You could rotate 3 or 4 guys and just keep him as the extra defenseman because he had a strong showing when he came up. Now, as the year went, as it went on towards the end, you started seeing some holes in his game, and there are holes. He can be beaten. People can get by him, and he's going to have to work on that. So I think, in my opinion, Harris is a little more solid in that area where he's got more physicality. So you got big decisions there. Then we got, he was started his year in Laval. I gave him that 7 position. I gave him a C because it's average. It balanced out, and that's pretty good for a guy just coming out of Laval. Nothing wrong with that at all. And then we have Justin Barron. I gave him a minus C, and being the same purpose. And a lot of people are going to disagree because he's flashy and he's got the offensive spark to him. Now, I give him credit. Each time he comes back a little better. This last time that he came back, I found he was even better than the previous times because his defense game seemed to be a little better, and he wasn't so much coughing up the puck, which is his biggest problem, is coughing up the puck and physicality. It adds up with him. And that's why I say, for me, you've got, I know the way the Habs could look at this is, well, anyway, let me say this first. Gave him a minus C. And then we got Enstrom that I put on the list that I see on next year's list. He's probably going to go to Laval. But for the future Habs, he's a possibility. He's that wild card. And who knows where he's going to end up. We're hearing a lot of good things from Sweden about him, where he lays his hat in the system because we've got so many good players. But either way, he would be if he doesn't, if he ends up just playing for Laval for the first part of his contract, and then you use him as trade bait, then you're going to get something for him. Just like Barron, I think Barron will have some value on the trade market. And then I put Savard as being traded, as valuable as he is. I think they're going to have to move him. They'll have enough time out of the kids being with him that they'll be able to move him by trade deadline, get something for him. That way you're not clogging up. And by that time, maybe Reinbacher's ready to come up, and then you have all your right-sided defensemen there, right? So that being said, We'll see what happens. That's a lot of what ifs, and injuries play into that. So I think Savard, it'll be time for him to move on. I hate to say it. Love the guy. A great teacher for the kids, but he's so slow that the time has to come soon. And then we got Mike Matheson. Like I said, he's number one defenseman for us, but he would not be a number one. And I don't care what anybody says. I don't care what Marinero says. I don't care what Craig Button says. I don't care what Pierre Maguire says. I don't care what any of them say. I usually get Craig Button and Pierre Maguire. I tend to agree with more stuff usually with what they say, but I make my own opinion, and I don't get swayed like some people do, and can't stick to their own opinion and stand by it. They like to butter up certain people, and I don't work that way. So and that means tons of respect towards them because we're all entitled to our opinion, all of us. I respect the opinion, don't agree with it, and you're going to have the odd things that comes about. And sorry, for me, Mike Matheson on any other NHL club would be a second pairing defenseman. It's because our defense is so young and so weak that he is a number one. And remember, he's been allowed to do what he wants freely. The leash has been long. Now, what happened? And I think it would be wise to pull the leash in on this entire defense a bit because they got to improve. There cannot be so many rushes, odd men rushes, coughing up the puck. They got to get more responsible in that area. The goals against are far too high for a team that's up and coming. If you ever want to be a team to win, you're going to have to settle that down. Bottom dollar. There's got to be responsibility. So you can't just your defense have to play defense, and it just can't be fire wagon hockey for the defenseman. So responsibility has to come in. That's why I think it'd be wise for Hudson, if he is up there this year, to be taking the power play minutes instead of Matheson. That would take some time off of Matheson's the pressure off of him being on the ice so much, and it might balance out so he's more effective 5-on-5, right? And I just think you got to get responsible, and that's why I say somebody has to be brought in to teach these guys because the defensive system they're using, their forwards, their defensemen, it's not working out. It's not a great system. People are running around with like chickens with their heads cut off. They don't seem to comprehend zone coverage, and they better get a grip on it because if you are trying to progress and fight for a playoff spot, you're going to have to get that under control. So that being said, that's how I evaluated the team. A lot of people are going to go, "Yo, you're crazy!" Like I'm sure Marinello. Oh, see, I don't insult people. I don't work that way. You're entitled to your opinion. You can leave your opinion, just keep them respectable. I won't insult you, but don't come on my channel and insult me. Okay? Just understand that. It's my channel. I say what I like. Okay? Let's understand that. Okay? And I'm not flip floppy like other people. I stand by with what I see. Been around hockey long enough. I know what I see, and I got a pretty good eye on it. And I'm not perfect, but we all got our own opinions. I just don't happen to be. I am this way. I shoot from the hip. I don't say I shoot from the hip and flip flop like some people do. I don't do that. I don't sway to impress certain folks. Some people do that. Not my style. So, with that being said, it's I gave it the core of guys that I thought Montreal should hang on to for the core, and I'm 100% firm in what I see so far. I believe it's going to be, like I said, in the future, the guys I would hang on to, and this is after 2 years' time now, remember, because I think Mike Matheson is going to be here for at least 2 years, possibly 3. I don't think we should go any farther than 2. That's my opinion. Okay, but it's going to be Caden Gooley with a partner of either Mayu or Reinbacher, and I think the second pairing Hudson with either Mayu or Reinbacher, whoever drops out of the two, and I think the third pairing should be Jackeye and Harris. Now remember, there's a little bit of fluctuation in there, and I would keep Struble as your number 7. I'm sorry to say this. There's you could put Harris, Kovacevic, Struble, and Barron and Lindstrom all in one grouping of guys that are possibilities to be traded. And most likely, one or two of these guys are probably going to get it. I hate to say that. I'd be very careful, and I wouldn't. I don't envy Hughes and Gordon having to make that decision because none of these guys have 300 games under their belt. So you could end up getting rid of one or two of these guys, and they could flourish somewhere else. And you go, why did we let him go? So for me, I don't know how you try to keep them in this on the team as long as you can, but if I'm looking at the players that I see more potential, like I said, and it's not a knock against certain guys, but for me, Barons, you got to balance out. Okay, we got producers that are offensive defensemen on that right side. We got Mayu, and he's pretty offensive. Reinbacker's got a bit of it in him as well. So for that right side, you got to have a bit of grit, smarts. You got to have a little more shutdownish stuff. You got to be thinking of that. It can't be all about a bunch of guys that just fly because there's got to be somebody who stays home and plays defense. That's why I make Justin Barron available, and I'm even leery of that because he does show some nice signs, and somebody's going to probably pay the bullet and pay the price, and I think he's one of the guys that has to. I unfortunately have to put Kovacevic in that grouping too, and I really like him a lot. But something's going to have to give, and I don't even think I would add Anstrom to the puzzle as good as he is, unless he's just heads down knockout. And he'll have time to play in Laval anyway. But I think with the core I mentioned, Gooley, Reinbacker, let's just go that way for now. I'll go Mayu and Gooley, sorry. Reinbacker, Hudson, Jack Harris, and then Struble as your seventh defenseman. I would stick to that. That gives you some toughness. So a few of the guys are more stay home and gritty, and you got your balance of offensive. You can't have it just a bunch of offensive guys, or you're going to get crucified. There's got to be smart guys. So that's why I'm critical on. For me, I wouldn't be letting Harris go so easily. I would put an offensive guy more so out there that it doesn't have a sure game, and that unfortunately leads towards Justin Barron. That's not to say that he may pan out very well because, like I said, none of these guys have 300 games under their belt. There's a good possibility a couple of these guys are going to flourish elsewhere, and Trudeau has to be on that list coming from Laval. And like I said, who else was there? There was Trudeau and a couple of those young Russian players I mentioned. These guys, you're just going to have to use them as trade bait. Don't even put them into the equation. You've got too many now. Just use them, move them on. Great players. They could, and we know Trudeau's NHL material. What the Russians sound like they could be in the future once they've done some time in Laval. We'll see. So that's my evaluation. The defense of the Habs gets an overall C, which is pretty darn good. It's coming along. There's lots of positive, and I do say, mark this on your calendar. I say the Montreal Canadiens, as these guys mature, will have one of the top three defensive cores in the league. That's going to be our strength, and thank God we got that because we have nothing in the cupboards for our offense, and we got a lot of work to do. That's where all our work needs to be done. So thank you for joining me. I appreciate it. Don't forget to hit the likes and subscribe. Tell your friends. Muchly appreciate it. Leave your comments. Tell me what you think because we all are entitled to an opinion, but stick to your opinion. Don't let people sway you. Be your own person. All right? So that's all I recommend. And we will catch you. We will have part 6. We'll be going and looking at the goaltenders. That'll be our next one. And then we'll have the management to evaluate. So thank you for joining me. God bless you. Catch you in the next episode.